Hello students, let's read the problem. And it says, which statement best describes the mapping below? So we have a mapping. If you notice, we have X and Y, and this is another way that we can represent a relation, right? So the first thing we need to do, of course, is write down my relation as an order pair, okay? And I'm looking for the statement that best describes that relation that you see on the mapping. So let's write down my numbers. So I'm gonna write down my order pairs, and I start with -12, and -12 it's mapping with 0. It's much better if you write the order pairs than if you want to just look at the numbers and the order pairs and decide anything. Okay, so please keep that in mind. My next X, it's -8. -8, it's mapping with 2. So that's my second order pair. Then I'm gonna move to a 5. 5 is mapping with 0. And the last one, it's 7. And 7 is mapping with -4. So these are my order pairs. Okay? So if you look at the answer choices, just so that you know what are you dealing with, I do see something that says the mapping represents Y as a function. So they're bringing the word function, right? So we need to remember what's a function, okay? And in case we still have trouble with functions and what's the definition, I have it right here so that we can read it and discuss on this definition, okay? So my definition says, a function is a special kind of relation in which each input x value has one and only one output value, okay? And if you remember, this basically means x cannot repeat, right? So let's write it down. This is like my short version of it, right? So we're gonna say x values can't not repeat. That's my definition for a function. So by looking at my mapping, we're gonna make up our minds and decide on that right now. Let's look at the x values, okay? I am gonna highlight the x values. Notice how I'm not paying attention to the y values, okay? Because a function is gonna be determined by looking at the x values, okay? So this is my x values, these are my y values, okay? What do you notice about the x values? Am I repeating any of the numbers? No, right? There's no number repeating. Therefore, the mapping shows a function, okay? It does. It is a function. So now we can look at the answer choices, okay? Now, don't let the 0, 0 on the y get you confused, okay? We're not looking at the y values, okay? Even if we have a 0 and a 0, that doesn't interfere with the fact that it is a function, okay? So let's look at the answer choices and see which one would be my answer choice for this one. Let's look at letter A. It says, the mapping represents y as a function. So this one says that this mapping is a function. And it says because each x value corresponds to only one y value, which is true. Every x has a y value, okay? So answer choice A looks pretty good, right? What about B? It says the mapping represents y as a function of x because each y value. Am I gonna be worried about each y value corresponding to 1? No, right? The whole idea of a function is not whether y belongs to each one of the x's. It's whether x has one value for y, okay? So B cannot be an answer. What about C? What do we see on C? It says the mapping does not represent y as a function of x. So the fact that it says that does not, we know that that's not true. We know that that is a function. So that cannot be my answer. Letter D says the mapping does not represent. So that cannot be my answer either, because I checked the mapping, I checked the x values, none of the x values are repeating, therefore this is a function. Okay, so we can write it down over here. X values don't repeat. Okay, so my x values don't repeat, and if they don't repeat, therefore it's a function. So my answer should be letter A for this.